Welcome to Interior Insights. I'm Jane, and we are standing in the heart of Paris in the 8th arrondissement. We're about to step inside Malesherbes, a breathtaking Parisian apartment that's part of Le Collectionnist's exclusive rental collection. The couple who lives here opens it up only when they travel, and we're lucky enough to film it today. And of course, we have our own Instagram where we post behind-the-scenes content and just more daily updates. Now, let's go inside and explore this absolute gem of an apartment. Now, as soon as we come into the apartment, you can see that an absolute master was at play. Like I already said, the building itself was built in the 19th century. And like many apartments in Paris, it is kept in this Haussmannian style, which is a term coined by George Eugene Haussmann, who created this kind of set of rules for how apartments in Paris should look. And that is, of course, also on the outside, so that you had these wide boulevards, trees on both sides of the street, but also that the facades had to be kept in this very light limestone, and that you just had this very cohesive look of the entire city. And another thing that is very typical about the Haussmann style is the fact that you have these little iron balconies that are too small to do anything proper on them, but where you can just basically go outside and stand, drink a cup of coffee. As we enter into a hallway that has been kept in this dark indigo blue color. It's just a very sophisticated and elegant color palette. And the dark moody walls that have rich paneling are accentuated by brown and gold accents. And I absolutely love this Piatil lounge chair. It just adds such a rustic and unexpected nuance to this otherly, very elegant and sophisticated design. From the hallway, we can walk right into the living room. The living room itself has almost 80 square meters of the entire 200 square meter apartment. So it is a very spacious space, and you can just really feel the energy flow through. As soon as you walk in, you just feel immersed into an entirely different color world. And you know that this is what I love so much about color, that the atmosphere shifts depending in which room you are. As soon as you enter the space, you are greeted by very tall windows that span from the floor all the way up to the ceiling. And this is another thing that's very typical for this Haussmann style, because it just lets light flood into the apartment and just creates this very dreamy and alive atmosphere. And you have a very strong visual connection to the outside. This apartment has been bought in 2016 and has been thoughtfully and thoroughly renovated for over 6 months. The goal was to really respect and keep the historic structure of the building alive. And this is what I love, that you just have this almost clash of modern designer icons and modern pieces of furniture inside these historic walls. On the floor, we have a chevron wood parquet, which is also very typical for these Haussmann Parisian apartments, and it just screams of the city. And on the ceiling, we have these gigantic round ornament moldings that just elevate the space and take you back to when this apartment was built. Over here, we have the sofa area, and there's a play of harmony and disrupting the harmony. So on the one hand, because this is a classical building, the design stays true to the classical history and is very symmetrical and orderly, but at the same time, the L-shaped sofa breaks up the symmetry and creates a certain tension inside the room. And this is what good design is all about not strictly following the rules from beginning to end, but about being a little bit playful. Another thing that just adds this burst of energy to the design is that we have this very nuanced color palette that is accentuated by bright orange accents. And this just really creates this burst of energy throughout the apartment. So, for example, on the one side of the fire pit, we have the Nasino lamp by Artemide, or we have an orange vase, or also the Ligne Rosé Togo Pouf. Another thing that I love is that we have a very expansive art collection. So the owner of this apartment loves to collect art and has collected it throughout Japan, Asia, and Africa. And so we have all of these modern and also historic pieces that are paired with each other. And this just again creates and adds so much dimension to the design. And you can see that this very modern art collection, such as this by Victor Vasarely, can coexist with all of these almost ancient sculptures found in Africa or Asia, and you just have these clashes and these different worlds colliding in the same room, and that is what makes it so unique. So as soon as you enter this room, the focal point is without a doubt this incredible chandelier. These chandeliers are actually called Sputnik Chandeliers, and they are inspired from the first satellite Sputnik that went into space. And they are more of a mid-century twist on the more classical chandeliers. So you just have these chrome and glass pieces, and they just give off this crazy light and have this insane energy. One of my favorite pieces in this apartment is this Japanese armor that dates back to the 16th century. It actually comes from one of Japan's biggest art and sculpture collectors, and it is standing in this apartment today. This apartment doesn't just tell one single story, because it really depicts just the multitude of interests of the owner. On top of the fireplace, we have a dark tinted golden mirror that again accentuates the place. We have another very historic old African mask where it's not quite sure to which date it dates back because it's so old, but it's also very special. And I just love that there's just an endless source of inspiration that you can pull from this apartment because it has just so many different layers. And you can see that the straight and angular atmosphere of the space is broken up by rounder or more soft elements. And the round moldings that we have on the ceilings are again mirrored in the round marble sofa tables. And this again just creates this connection between the different design periods. Now let's take a look at the kitchen. The kitchen consists of an entire wall that has been turned into a kitchen. And in front of it we have a very generous kitchen island. And what I love is that the kitchen island seamlessly extends into a table that has just been placed after it. So you just have this very long and clear room layout. So what I love is that you have two different heights here, and you just have this almost bar-like atmosphere, but further down you have the actual proper dining table, and you have a lot of different materials at play. The kitchen island is kept in a black Italian marble that has a very strong wainscoting, and to just add a little bit more of a softer touch, to create a little bit more of a warm and hearty atmosphere, you have a very big wooden table with vintage wooden chairs and all of these natural and wooden elements. Just create again this more laid-back atmosphere and don't scare anybody who's visiting off from eating here or just spending some time here. The kitchen kind of fades into the background because it consists just of this entire black wall. And we have black panels and some wooden accents, and of course again this gorgeous Italian marble. And even the kitchen has little niches where you can display your personality and add some historical objects or add a vase, and this just again really elevates the design and makes it fully yours. Also, every proper kitchen needs a little storage area. So behind here we have a pantry hiding where you can just store your dry ingredients, and this is always a great room to have to keep your apartment neat and tidy when people are coming over, like when I'm coming over. Another aspect that makes this room feel so alive and so full of vibrancy and richness is because we have a very smart and holistic lighting design. At the same time, we have sconces, we have indirect lighting behind the bookshelves, but we also, of course, have lamps hanging from the ceilings or standing next to the sofa tables. And this just again lets the eye wander through the room and just be pulled from one lighting source to the next one. And this just again creates this very lively and vibrant atmosphere. Let's go into the first master bedroom. And you can see that as we go outside the room and back into the hallway, the entire atmosphere and energy changes. Because here the primary color is blue, which is kind of almost the opposite of orange. So you just have a radical shift. So this is the primary bedroom. Because this is a space to wind down, it is kept in much more neutral colors, but you still, of course, have a few eye catchers here and there and a very proper and nice design. Outside your window, you can soak up the beautiful facades of Paris and just this unique Parisian flair that you won't find anywhere else. Everything in this room and in this apartment feels very effortless, so you just have this very nonchalant atmosphere. Basically, the overall design is very elegant, but nobody put too much effort into it. So this room again has the beautiful chevron parquet and the intricate moldings on the ceilings. But the color palette is much more nuanced. The walls are kept in a crisp white and again are covered with the historic moldings that just gives the entire room its structure and its Parisian flair. And again, like in the living room, the design pulls inspiration from a lot of different periods. So on this wall over here, we have two Art Deco sconces. And in the bottom, we have this Snoopy lamp from Flo's, which is also a very modern one. And for the bedside tables, we actually have Scandinavian teak bedside tables that again create this more laid-back, relaxed atmosphere. And of course, like in the rest of the apartment, we have pops of color that come through the artworks that are displayed. And you can really see that the artwork is the star of the show. You have this almost hotel-like atmosphere because the room layout itself is again kept very symmetrical. So on your one side, you have your own little walk-in wardrobe that is almost as large as this entire room. And on both sides of the bed, you have an entrance to the bathroom. And this just creates this full circle moment inside this little ensuite. And here, the design is much more minimal and laid back because the bathroom is supposed to be a place where you calm down and take care of yourself, not a place where you're supposed to be inspired. So we have these very large stone tiles that clad the entire space and just create this very clean atmosphere. And again, for the vanity, we have a floating vanity that has been created from the same Italian black marble. It just again adds this very luxurious hotel-like atmosphere to the design. And of course, like in every other room, we have this impeccable lighting design that you just have this ambient, indirect lighting, and that just really fills this room with energy. So again, through the dark blue hallway, we can enter two different bedrooms and a little powder room that is hiding behind this door. And here again, a regular powder room has been turned into a little wow moment with its jungle wallpaper. And this is again just this little eye for adding a little bit extra and putting a little bit effort into an otherwise overlooked space. Now I will show you the second bedroom, but again, we enter through hallway. And what I love about the hallway is that on one side, we have these black and white artworks that again frame one side of the hallway. And this is the second bedroom, and it is also much more minimal compared to the rest of the apartment or compared to the living room area. Again, we have the chiffon parquet and the beautiful moldings on both the ceiling and the walls. The goal was to create a much more reduced space. Here we also have much more laid-back furniture, so a lot of the items are vintage, and it's really the art that pops off the walls and that creates the unique design. So here we again have an artwork by Victor Vasarely, and these geometric patterns just add this new dimension to the design. Even though this space is much calmer and much more minimal, and the main color really are whites and browns, you have these little color accents. For example, the two lamps on both sides that are kept in this green glass, and they just add these small bits of color. And of course, we have our own little writing desk that consists of a vintage chair and a vintage table, and you can just journal your thoughts in the morning or read an interesting book, or of course do a little bit of work. And like every other room in this apartment, we have our own little balcony. And here we can just walk outside and have a cup of coffee in our morning, or just look at our beautiful Haussmann style iron balcony with all of these little ornaments and details. And here you can even see the light limestone facades that I was talking about before, that are just very typical for Paris and for the Haussmann style. And of course, this bedroom also has its ensuite bathroom. And again, we have a very bright and minimal space that is very modern. Definitely go and check out this apartment in the description, and the rest of Le Collectionist's apartment. And if you like this video, you will love this one over here.